Hey everyone, today I want to talk about a movie called Barbarian. Now some of you guys may be familiar with this movie, some of you guys may have already seen it since it came out last week, but if you haven't, and this is not a spoiler, the premise of the movie is you have a woman that arrives at an Airbnb and turns out it's been double booked by someone else that's already living at the Airbnb, and things sort of take a turn from there. So I wanted to talk about what makes this movie good and why it is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. So there are two types of horror movies I've realized. One where you know exactly what's going to happen when you are going to it, and you sort of know what to expect, but the horror value comes from the jump scares, the visual gore, the intense pacing, etc. And then the other type of horror movies you have are the ones where you don't know what's going to happen, such as movies like Get Out, Us, Nope, just to name a few, even though they are all Jordan Peele movies. Now, I think this movie is one of the best examples of a movie where you don't know what is going to happen. This movie does a great job of following a trope that I like to call subversion. Subversion is where you portray the movie to be one thing, but then it turns out to be something completely else. Now, it's not the first movie to do this. However, I believe that a lot of movies haven't succeeded the technique of subversion because of many reasons. Starting off with, sometimes you start to develop a relationship with the character that you want to see throughout the movie, but that relationship is cut short when that character is gone or not there for the remainder of the story. That, I think, creates a sour experience in the viewer's eyes. Next, another reason why subversion hasn't worked so well in most movies is just that when you introduce a premise, like let's say the movie Downsizing, you start off with the premise and it's really intriguing. I mean, the idea that people are going to shrink and live in this miniature world. But then you completely turn the story into something else where it's just not exciting anymore. You had this one great idea that you looped people in for, and then we get that you want to completely shock them and give them something else, but your new story kind of has to match the level of quality that your first story is at. And again, if that doesn't match, then it's a miss. And so taking these two points in mind, I believe that Barbarian does a really great job in following the subversion, and giving us one of the best horror movies ever. Here we start off with the main character, the lady, and as an audience we end up relating to her because she's actually one of the smarter protagonists we've had in horror movies, where if something is wrong, she tends to avoid it or not go there and follow her instinct, even though that only works about half the times. And we sort of build a relationship to this character that we see on screen. However, as part of the subversion, we're introduced to another character, and I believe that he is one of the highlights of the movies. See, this other character, played by Justin Long, he is a comedic a-hole. He is all about himself, and I think that does a great job of having a character that is completely different than our main character, so that if you, the audience, resonated with the main character, you don't really feel taken aback by the new character. Essentially, both of them can have their spotlight without cutting into each other. Not only that, but when the movie shifts focus towards Justin Long's character, we sort of get engrossed with his character the same way we did with the main character, and I think that goes a long way to show that the writing and the character development in this movie has been top-notch. Now, eventually we do switch back to our main character and we see both of them work together. And so if you're a fan of one character, well, they're still in the story. And so I think that's one of the reasons why this movie stands apart, is that you just have two really, really strong people that the audience can connect, that the audience can enjoy, that the audience can wish well for or feel emotions for. Now, as I said before, the movie starts off with the premise of an Airbnb double booked, and then it goes all sorts of insane. And luckily, when the story does go insane, it still manages to match the quality / excitement / pacing of the original. I was just as engrossed with the idea of two people being stuck in an Airbnb versus what actually ends up happening. There's always a chance when you flip your plots that the audience could be wanting to go back to the previous plot, but here I actually found the second half of the movie to be more engaging, better, and just more fun than the first half, and that completely blew my expectations. Had the second half of the movie, or really the second plot of the movie, not been as great as the first half, I think this movie would have been a stinker, but because it managed to keep up the story, it managed to surpass the vision of what the premise was going to be. It really succeeded in doing its trope, which is subversion, pretty well. So let me know what you guys think, if you guys had a chance to watch it. If so, what did you guys think about it? I will see you guys next time.